Welcome to Card Player TV's first episode of This Week in Poker. Every Friday, Christy and I will deliver pertinent poker news directly to you. The first topic on the agenda for this week is the Orleans Open, which played out its No Limit Championship final table on Monday. James Van Alstyne shot up to 4th in our Player of the Year race by beating out 219 opponents to take down first place. He took home almost $60,000, which isn't bad for a $1,000 buy-in tournament.
Following his victory, Van Alstyne came by the Card Player Studios to discuss the tournament with Lizzie.
So you just won the Orleans Open Championship event. Congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you, Lizzie.
Going into that tournament, did you think that a pro would win the tournament?
No, because there weren't that many pros. It was mostly it seemed like it was mostly a non-pro field. So just percentage-wise, I thought it would be.
Do you have to adjust your game when you're playing with amateurs in a tournament as opposed to maybe a bigger buy-in event where there are more professional players?
You have to adjust your game based on how good the field is. And that field wasn't necessarily a real strong field. So I didn't have to play. So I adjusted it according to that.
What kind of changes do you have to make to your game?
Well, the main thing is that if you're up against pros, you don't want to bet in a pattern that tips off your hand, basically. Like, let's say you make a flush. There's 4 flush cards out there. If you make like a small bet, it's going to be perceived as a milking bet.
Mm-hmm. Whereas an amateur might not pick that up.
Yeah, exactly. So you can get away with more stuff where you don't have to be as deceptive, basically. You can just play it straightforward and not really worry that they're going to pick up on.
Was there a turning point in that tournament for you? Was there a big hand where you really chipped up?
Probably a key hand early came against an excellent player, John Cernuto. He limped in up front, and I raised. I had 2 queens, and he moved all in on me. Which, when you do that limp in, and then re-raise all in, you're sort of representing a huge hand, aces or kings. But I was just, and Miami John's a very solid player, so I had to think about it for a while, but I decided to call him with 2 queens. It turns out he had 2 5s. So that after that started doing well.
So how many other? That was a big 5.
Yeah.
How many other Orleans Open events did you play in?
I think I played in 2 other ones, but no good results.
No. So do you as a local, do you like playing at the Orleans, or is there another casino in town that's your favorite?
No, I was just playing there because there's nothing else going on in town. I mean, it's kind of slow, basically, right?
The interview in its entirety can be viewed this Monday on Card Player TV. Van Alstyne is now on his way to California for the Legends of Poker at the Bike, which began earlier this week. The Bike would be a good place for Anthony Sandstrom to show his face, since he is in the process of gathering signatures for a petition that would let Californian voters choose whether or not to establish a state-owned poker website. He believes that taxing and regulating online poker would be the best course of action for the state. Sandstrom needs to gather 430,000 signatures in the next 4 months in order for his initiative to be placed on a statewide ballot.
The petition, which is called Initiative for Pothole Repair, funded by a California state-owned online poker site, calls for 90% of the money that would be raised to be used for California road repairs. The other 10% would be earmarked for the California Gambling Addiction Program Fund. Sandstrom's initiative is similar to the model that has been embraced by Sweden and has worked out well. The Swedish government-owned website is expected to generate almost $32 million annually, and Sweden is home to only 9 million residents compared to 39 million Californians. If you would like to learn more about the petition, please visit www.caonlinepoker.org.
Across the country in New Jersey, the Borgata Hotel and Casino recently revealed the names of 4 swindlers. The New Jersey Attorney General's office released the details of a cheating scam that went down in the hotel. High-stakes poker players were lured up to a suite that was outfitted with hidden cameras. Those cameras were situated so that they could see the victims' hole cards. It is also alleged that marked decks were used at times.
The men were arrested on charges of attempted theft by deception and conspiracy. One of the alleged scammers was none other than a notable casino cheating expert, Steve Fort, who has made his career out of catching cheaters. He even authored a book on the topic called Poker Protection, Cheating, and the World of Poker. and owns a company called International Gaming Protection. Now, it is important to remember that the cheating scam was conducted off of the gaming floor. It did not involve the Borgata poker room or tournament areas in any way.
The Heartland Poker Tour has taken the country by storm, and their last tournament, which concluded on Monday, boasted a record-setting prize pool of over $800,000. The championship tournament at the Majestic Star Casino in Gary, Indiana, was won by Dan Zogman, an employee of Home Depot. He earned over $250,000 for his first-place finish. The buy-in was $2,200, but Zogman was in on a $100 satellite.
The Heartland Poker Tour was designed to give poker players from all over the country the chance to compete. The reasonable buy-ins combined with the televised final tables help to give everybody a chance at poker stardom. The next Heartland Poker Tour event starts on August 20th at the Grand Casino Mill Locks in Minnesota. For more information, go to www.heartlandpokertour.com.
If you had money locked up in NetTeller, certainly you are aware that this week they announced that they have finally begun to release funds to their rightful owners. I sat down with Card Players legal counsel, Alan Jaffrey Shulman, to discuss the current situation. NetTeller is in the process of releasing funds to U.S. customers. Can you give us an update on that situation?
Yes. $94 million were locked up in NetTeller, and NetTeller is now returning that money. There are a certain number of caveats that our readers and listeners need to know. And that is, the money will only be returned between July 30th and January 26th. That means that anyone who has money in NetTeller has to make a request between July 30th and January 26th. After that 6-month period of time, NetTeller is not going to accept any more requests. Now, the way the process works is if you had a bank account, the money will be sent directly to your bank account. And as a matter of fact, Card Player had money in NetTeller because we used to pay our European writers that way. We made a request, and the very next day the money was back in our bank account. If you've changed bank accounts, don't worry. When you fill out the NetTeller form, NetTeller will ask you, do you still have the same bank account? If you say no, you don't have the same bank account, then what will happen is that a check will be sent to you. There are a couple of things that we need to take into consideration and remember. You cannot log into NetTeller from outside of the United States in order to ask for your funds. And the second thing is a check will not be sent outside of the United States.
So what they're doing right now is strictly involving U.S. customers getting their money back.
U.S. customers getting their money back, and they're only sending the money to the United States.
What's going to happen to the funds after the January date where it can no longer be requested by U.S. customers if they haven't been claimed?
If U.S. customers don't ask for their money by January 26, 2008, the money will be frozen, NetTeller will retain that money, and then we don't know what NetTeller will do with that money, but the customers can only get it during the 6-month period of time.
And do we think that NetTeller will ever return to U.S. markets?
I love that question. Yes, I think, I don't know if NetTeller will, but obviously third-party processors will return to the United States, which of course brings up the issue of the UIGEA. As we all probably know by now, the 180-day period where the government was supposed to come up with a plan and procedure for the Unlawful Internet Gaming Enforcement Act. That day came and went, and we've heard nothing about any new rules and regulations.
In international news, the legal and financial climate in Denmark is a bit more favorable to poker players than it is here in the States. A Danish court recently ruled that the game of poker requires skill, which means that poker tournaments with buy-ins of up to $75 are now legal in Denmark. The tournaments are required by law to be freeze-outs, which means they cannot feature rebuys.
The ruling likens poker to traditional skill games such as backgammon and bridge, where competence in the game is required for long-term success. The man who was sued by the Danish casino group, Fred Hostrup, was acquitted of all charges. He is the chairman of the Danish Poker Federation and was arrested for holding poker tournaments. But remember, it is likely there will be an appeal within the next 2 weeks. Card Player will keep you up to date on this developing situation.
Also, on the other side of the Atlantic, PokerStars just received accreditation from the United Kingdom's responsible gaming organization, GamCare. PokerStars added to their website in order to implement the GamCare Code of Practice for remote gambling. One of the new additions to the site is an age verification system. PokerStars also now features a self-exclusion program, which means that players can ban themselves from playing poker on the site for as little as 24 hours or for as long as they desire.
The National Poker League's World Circuit Tour begins on August 12th with the UK Open. Players who don't want to wait in line at the Loose Cannon Club can register online, and the NPL recommends that all players who plan to participate in the UK Open do so. The Loose Cannon is strictly a poker club, but the tournaments will be capped at a set number so that enough tables remain for cash games. As for the $15,000 Buy-in Championship tournament, the NPL has started a rumor that it will be held here on the Strip in Las Vegas. They have not yet released the name of the property, but I've concluded that it's the Venetian, since next week they've scheduled a press conference to announce their partnership.
The World Poker Congress announced that their next meeting is set for November. Their goal is to examine the synergy between traditional land-based and online poker businesses. This year's meeting will be held at the Westin Dragonara Resort in St. Julian's, Malta. Anyone who wants to learn more about the poker industry is encouraged to attend. One of the keynote speakers is World Poker Tour founder Steve Lipscomb.
The Poker Players Alliance has state representatives all over the country who are fighting for the rights of American citizens. In Washington State, attorney Lee Russo takes care of the job. He has filed a lawsuit to reverse the change in the state law that recently made playing online poker a Class C felony. Russo's case is set for a hearing on September 21st.
We'll let you know what happens at that hearing, but sometime soon, online poker players in Washington might not be in the same criminal class as child abusers. Card players Alan Jeffrey Schulman recently sat down with Russo in Washington, D.C., and Lizzie had the chance to discuss the matter with her when they met earlier this week.
What's happening with online poker in Washington State?
Good question, Lizzie. I recently went to Washington and I met with a lawyer, Lee Russo. Lee Russo is as concerned as all other poker players are about the law that passed in Washington making it a felony to play poker online. What he has done is he's filed a lawsuit asking for a declaratory judgment. What that means is he wants to go to court and have the court make a ruling that the law that makes it a felony to play online poker is unconstitutional. Card Player is excited about what Lee Russo is doing in Washington. I have offered my private services as a lawyer to assist him, and we wish him the best.
And that's what happened this week in poker. We'll be back next Friday with all the goods you have come to expect from Card Player TV.
Tune in to Card Player TV for the best poker programming on the net. For Christy Arnett, I'm Lizzie Harrison for Card Player TV.